Welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm your host, Janet Cresson. On this program, we meet local business owners, we learn about nonprofits, and about events in the community. Right now, we're learning about the health and safety of your home or business. And joining me, I have Bob Stigsell. He's the owner of Advanced Health and Safety. Thanks for coming on Talk of the Town today.
Thank you for having me.
And actually, I want to say, you're more than just owner. You're an asbestos inspector, lead inspector, certified mold technician. You got a lot going on.
Yeah, basically anything involving buildings when they're being renovated or demolished, that's what we get involved with.
This is important stuff. Can you talk to us about asbestos and why it was used? We know that it's
Well, it's been used for thousands of years. It first started being used as a building, as a fireproofing. And so within buildings, what they do is they use it for fireproofing as well as just a binder for building materials. And it makes building materials better, but there's the downside of the health effects of asbestosis and mesothelioma.
Mm-hmm. So what building products use or have used asbestos?
So if you think about the interior of a building, and we look around a room that we're sitting in, ceiling tiles can have it, floor tiles, sheet vinyl, linoleum, drywall. Also drywall mud can have it as well.
Are those just old products though?
Well, actually asbestos is not a banned product even today. So we were doing a building inspection the other day. We found a can of roofing patch cement that was only about 12 years old, and right on the side it said contains fibered mineral, which means asbestos. Is just a different way of saying it. So that's one of the misconceptions that people think that it was banned back in the 1980s. It wasn't, and it's still around today. So also on the exterior of the building, you can have exterior siding as well as roofing shingles that have it too.
Wow, that's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
So what should a person think about when they're considering getting their home inspected or their business, I guess?
Yeah, so the planning is the best part. So if you're going to do a renovation for a commercial building or a home, call a company that does inspecting or removal and have them do a pre-walkthrough before the renovation or the demolition happens. That way they can go through and identify different building materials that can contain asbestos. They can be sampled, where we take a sample and we send it to the lab and they'll confirm whether it has it or not. So it's always better to plan ahead as opposed to during your renovation or your demolition coming up with a building material and all of a sudden it's like, whoops, we got to find somebody quickly.
Yeah,
so,
it comes to a screeching halt.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Especially when your safety, your health
right.
are concerned.
That's right.
So are there products, building products that people should especially, I mean, you mentioned the ceiling tiles and the floor tiles and things like that.
So there's two in particular that are kind of hot topics right now in the asbestos world, let's say. One is called vermiculite, also known as zonalite. It's a loose fill attic insulation. They used it a lot back in the 60s and the 70s and even back to the 50s. They poured it in attics and sometimes also in walls. There's a trust fund that's set up where a homeowner can get 55% of the cost of the removal and the reinstallation reimbursed back to them.
By whom?
By this trust fund that's been set up. The attorneys are in South Carolina. It's very easy. We direct customers to a website and they initiate the claim, and then we come out and do an inspection and give them a price. And then if that qualifies, which all the ones that we do they've all qualified, they would get 55% of the cost reimbursed. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. The other one would be sheet vinyl linoleum that I'd like to emphasize. When people think of flooring, they always think of the 9-inch tiles, and everyone thinks, oh, those are asbestos. And yes, they are. But also sheet vinyl linoleum, you find it in your bathroom and your kitchens, especially the older stuff, contains a really high percentage of asbestos, usually 20 to 60% chrysotile. And so if a person is taking up a kitchen floor and they run a skill saw through it, fibers are all over the house. And
all over the house.
Yeah, and so I hear that a lot, and people say, I didn't know linoleum has it. And it's like, yeah, it does.
Oh,
so,
gosh.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for folks that are thinking about having their home inspected, for hiring someone to maybe do the work?
Yeah, so first of all, any asbestos removal company or inspectors, they all have to be licensed by the state of Wisconsin, okay? They have to have a card that shows that they're licensed. They also have to be insured. So the best thing you could do is you could call the state of Wisconsin Department of Health Services and ask them for qualified inspectors or abatement firms. Then obviously do your due diligence, look at the company itself. How long have they been in business? How many employees do they have? Do they have experience with different size projects? Also, there are the insured. For instance, our company is insured up to $4 million. So anything that would happen, we would be covered, and so would the homeowner too.
All right, we just have a few seconds left. Maybe a few bullet points of other things you treat besides the asbestos.
Yeah, so we do asbestos, obviously. The other things we do, we deal with mold, also lead in paint, and also select interior demolition.
And I want to say I saw amazing reviews for your company.
Thank you.
One after another.
Read those Google reviews. That customers speak for themselves.
They do. They say you're prompt, affordable, efficient, professional, and courteous, and so
Thank
much
you.
more.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on Talk of the Town today.
Yes.
We'll be right back after this break.